The Dream Season Football League Series 6 is the series that determined the greatest dynasty in NFL history. Week 13 of the year, Emmitt Smith, John Harbaugh, they're excited. Why? Because this series is going to next gen. Some point throughout this video, the series will go to PS5, and it will be the case for the remainder of the regular season and the playoffs. I am so jazzed to bring it to you. You may wonder why I switched midway through Week 13. Well, I didn't know when the PS5 would come. The only way I knew is that I heard a loud thud on my front door, and it turns out, oh, that was Amazon from about 5 miles away launching the package right to the door. Luckily, it didn't break on contact, so I'm able to bring you the remainder of this season on PS5. It just looks so much better, the image quality and everything. Ray Rice runs 15 times for 123 yards and a touchdown, but Willis McGahee finds the end zone for the Ravens, who take a 21-14 lead. 21 unanswered before Alvin Harper is gone from 73. He would also have an incredible game. The Cowboys are up 24-21 over the 10's Ravens, but then the tight ends would get involved for Baltimore. Todd Heap and Dennis Pitta, the Cowboys of the 90s. Such a good defense. What are they doing blitzing everybody and leaving the tight end wide open? Emmitt Smith had a bad performance today against Baltimore. He is the league's leading rusher, and it isn't even close until after today's game when he allowed the rest of the pack to come back to him. I don't get what Madden does. You know, the game's on the line. They're down by 7. He keeps throwing underneath passes, does Troy Aikman. Whatever. I'm with the same as Jimmy Johnson there at head coach. Alvin Harper played well, but the Cowboys lose the game. Maybe Madden next year on Next Gen will play better down the stretch. This was another close football game too, but luckily Madden didn't do something silly down the stretch for the team that was behind in the game or even ahead in the game. Sack safety there, 22-13. Breeze, who leads the league with 21 touchdown passes, finds his man to the end zone. Colston with 8 TD grabs. And the Falcons didn't mess around like Madden does a lot of times. They run the ball when they're up by 2 with the game down the stretch. John Stitchcomb and Jimmy Graham, as you see the top 2, they're out for the remainder of the regular season for the 2010s New Orleans Saints, who drop a division game to Atlanta. 1940s Cleveland Browns, 2000s Tennessee Titans, and sometimes throughout the 40s and 50s before there was a Super Bowl, you always had these weird stories. Tommy James out of Ohio State, after he would play football with the Buckeyes, he would serve in the U.S. Army. So it's not like today where players have one job. You know, he would constantly have other stuff going on, which was interesting. He had one of the great single-season performances ever with 9 picks, and he would have 2 in this football game today for the Browns. Max Speedy has his DSFL best 9th receiving touchdown of the season to lift the Browns in front in a game tied at 17. The Browns would roll in the second half. Another pick 6 from Tommy James of Cleveland. And then to cap it off, there's Marion Motley with a 20-yard rushing touchdown. Well, the Browns demolished the Titans 41-17. 1980s Washington Redskins, 1970s Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers are tied for the best record in the DSFL. And Terry Bradshaw throws the only touchdown in the game. This to Benny Cunningham. The two struggling offenses were in a defensive affair, 10-6. Final play of the game. Will Madden throw a short 2-yard pass? Joe Theismann doesn't do that. He actually goes to the end zone. Yet Mike Wagner picks him off, and the game is over. Hey, at least he went for the win. So many games in Madden. Yes, I'm calling out Madden for the millionth time. He would go for a short pass to officially lose the game. Steelers win it 10-6. 1970s Oakland Raiders, 1960s New York Jets. Mark Van Egan is now healthy, and he scores for Oakland to put the Raiders in front 13-0 at one point here in the third quarter before Don Maynard reels in another good one for the Jets. He's one of the league's best receivers. He played well. The rest of the team did not. So the 70s Raiders win the game despite the good performance from Don Maynard, 20-10. Namath and company frustrated on the way the season has panned out. Outside of a miracle, New York is going to be done for a playoff berth. Oakland wins the game and keeps first place in the division, 20-10. Alan Page of the 1970s Minnesota Vikings is the first player in the league this season to win a Conference Player of the Week award for 2 consecutive games. He had 3 sacks in Week 12 and 3 sacks in Week 13. Bobby Bryant with a pick 6 And the Jaguars, their season is almost done too. 17-10, the 70s Vikings win the game. Minnesota is now 7-5. The 1980s Cincinnati Bengals were the first team in the league to be officially eliminated from the playoffs. So the idea is that maybe the Bengals will play better now that there's no expectations. No, they actually played even worse than when there was some drama in the season. Mercury Morris reels in 2 touchdown passes from Bob Greasy, who had a fine football game. He has been ravaged with injuries in so many games this season, but he was 24 of 28 with 3 touchdown passes today. He's the AFC Offensive Player of the Week. The Dolphins roll 30-10. 1940s Chicago Bears playing for their playoff lives today. They take on the 1950s Detroit Lions, 2 great football teams, clubs with multiple world championships at each side. The Bears were so successful courtesy of that man, Sid Luckman, out of Columbia too. I mean, Columbia University was just another one of those schools back in the 40s and 50s that were so prominent in great NFL superstars. 2 touchdown passes in the first half. Another former Columbia product, John Siegel, was the one who reeled in the second. Maniaci finds the end zone, so the Bears roll the Lions late in the third quarter, but then Detroit, in a valiant comeback led by Bob Horschemeyer, trims the Bears' lead to just 1 possession of the fourth quarter, and then Bob Stitz reels in this interception of Sid Luckman in a mistake, 11th pick of the year for the Bears signal caller. Yet the Lions are denied on 3rd and 17. Bobby Lane with a fine season for Detroit, but he struggled in today's game. And then Joe Maniaci for the win, rips off a 79-yard touchdown. So now the NFC North is airtight. Vikings and Lions are tied for the lead at 7-5. Packers are 6-6, and the Bears are right behind them with a record of 5-7. 2000s Indianapolis Colts, 1960s Houston Oilers. At the half, the Oilers jump out to a huge 17-3 lead, courtesy of that defense forcing 2 turnovers of Peyton Manning and company. Edgerrin James, the second running back in the DSFL 6 to go over 1,000 yards rushing this season. He finds the end zone and a valiant comeback. But then Houston with a game on the line up a field goal, led by their Hall of Fame quarterback George Blanda, would push the ball against the struggling Colts defense. This defense, if the Colts are to lose in the postseason, if they make the postseason this year, the defense will be most likely the reason. Peyton Manning played well, but not well enough to overcome George Blanda. Houston stays alive with a 27-17 win. Russell Wilson of the 2010 Seahawks has missed 4 games this season. He would battle the 1980s New York Giants today. And how about against one of the great defenses in the history of the game, maybe the greatest defender of all time, Lawrence Taylor? How about a franchise record 493 yards of offense? There's 1 touchdown from Russell Wilson in the game, long ball to Doug Baldwin. And throwing on the run, he finds the tight end Zach Miller in the back line. There's the 2nd touchdown. Over the middle to Tyler Lockett. There's the 3rd touchdown. Wilson on 3rd and 1 goes deep, and there's Golden Tate in the end zone. That's 4 touchdowns. Then Marshawn Lynch has his greatest game in about 2 months. And if he was tackled to the 1-yard line, maybe Russell Wilson has a 5th touchdown pass. The game of games for the 2010s Seattle offense. 42-17, Seattle over the New York Giants. Check out how much time Kurt Warner has to throw in this pocket. 1 second, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 seconds to throw the ball, and he better find a touchdown with that much pass protection. And then the Rams, Jeff Wilkins stays perfect on field goals this season. St. Louis of the 2000s wins the game 22-13. There are 3 wild card teams in the NFC. The winner stays in those 3 spots. The loser falls out of the 3 spots. Battle of 6 and 5 clubs, 40s Eagles and the 60s Packers. This was a great football game, but you wouldn't know it at the start as Hall of Famer Chuck Bednarik recovers a Vic Sears forced fumble for a touchdown. Philadelphia basically hit the pause button from there on out. They led 21-0. Elijah Pitts out of Philander Smith College in Little Rock, Arkansas, returns this kickoff all the way, 97 yards for a touchdown. First kickoff for return score by a player since the opener for John Taylor of San Francisco. Dale reels in the touchdown from Starr. We're tied at 24. Steve Van Buren one of the league's best running backs this season, second in rushing average, rips off the game-winning run. Philly kicks a field goal and walks it out 27-24. 10's Patriots and the 60s Chargers. New England 8-3 on the season, has been on a tear in the AFC East. I am Gronk. I scored touchdown. Look at this ridiculous catch for Rob Gronkowski. Holy Gronkamole, the Patriots have the lead. They're up 17-0 here in the fourth quarter, and John Hadel's fumble officially clinches the Chargers to being the second team in the league this year to be officially eliminated from the playoffs. Lance Allworth, as great as he's been, only Tyreek Hill and Jerry Rice have more receiving yards. The Chargers' offense has not been very good this year, even with him playing well. Speaking of great performances, Patrick Mahomes and John Elway were combined for 605 yards and 5 touchdowns. The first was on the opening play of the game. 77 yards to Tyreek Hill. He has been ridiculous in the receiving game this year already with 1,100 yards. Kelsey is second in the league in receptions behind only Detroit's John Henry Johnson. And the Chiefs win this important football game against Denver, so they are now tied atop the AFC West at 7-5. So long to PS4 and DSFL on the previous gen. We're going to next gen. This is the first PS5 football game. 90s Bills, 80s 49ers. Can you see the difference? I mean, it's small, but can you see the difference? I can. It's great. Now, the 49ers, can you see the difference on this offense? They have turned it completely around. Touchdown to Mike Wilson. Jerry Rice had a phenomenal football game here, but Michael Carter would tear his labrum out for the remainder of the regular season. 49ers dominates 29-7 over Buffalo. Here's a look at the scores from Week 13 of the DSFL 6, and then the games coming up, including the DSFL 6 radio game between the 2010s New England Patriots and the 2000 St. Louis Rams, two of the greatest offenses in the history of the sport. Here's the Patriots after starting 2-2. They go on a 5-game winning streak headed into the game in Los Angeles after the 0-3 start. St. Louis wins 7 straight as well. Both teams really turned it around in the DSFL 6. So the teams that have the best record of the DSFL 6, tied at 9-3, are the Patriots of the 2010s and the Steelers of the 1970s. Both of those dynasties won 3 to 4 Super Bowls throughout their runs. They were just absolutely insane. Two of the great dynasties of all time, and they have played well, living up to the billing to begin the year. So for the second straight week, we have the Chargerdude95 installment of the Big Board, where I break down 2 divisions and the playoff scenarios down the stretch of the year. Here we go. So if the playoffs were to start today, here's a look at the bracket. There are still 4 games to go in the regular season for all teams. The Patriots and the Cowboys have a first-round bye. The 2 divisions we look at today are the AFC East and the NFC East. Well, the Patriots and the Dolphins, of course, are 1-2 in the division. Miami will play host to New England in Week 15. If the Patriots win that game, they could lose every game the rest of the season. They will have clinched the division with 10 wins. So Miami has a very, very tough road to climb for the division. Right now, they are the 5 seed in the AFC. Buffalo is the 8 seed, so they'd be the first team out of the playoffs. But the Dolphins have that crucial 3-1 division record. So the Dolphins right now are holding all sorts of tiebreakers over just about the remainder of the AFC, but that could all change when they play the Patriots in Week 15. New England clinches the playoffs with just 1 win the remainder of the way. And finally, with the NFC East, first let's look at the bottom. Yes, I could have put that 5-7 record a little bit to the right. I could have let football team be texted in its entirety, but no, I'm going to cut it off because, come on, man, let's get a team name. It's been a year. You still can't figure out a team name for Washington. They are the 80s Redskins, according to us in the DSFL 6, and I mean no profanity when I say that, no racism, no anything whatsoever. That's what they were called in the 80s, so I got to say it the way that it was. Anyways, the 90s Cowboys are at the top. They are tied for the best record in the NFC. They play the Eagles in Week 16. They win that game, and they basically win the division. We'll see you next week for Week 14 of the DSFL 6. Come on, Washington. Come on. Let's get a team name going. You've had an entire f***ing year to get this going. Come on, Washington. It's not that hard. I could even do it for you. I mean,